Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, desolate serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And just before the election, I guess I'd want to talk about this thing that really bothers me, and that's these political candidates, particularly presidential candidates and, and presidents in general, that talk about that they're going to be a unifier. They always use that term, I'm going to be a unifier. And when Biden was elected, of course, he said he was going to be the unifier and he was going to heal the country after 4 years of Trump. And now we have Kamala Harris out there talking about how she's going to be a president for all Americans. And so the first thing I'd like to say, of course, this is just jingoistic garbage. And that's what politicians do. I mean, if you look at State of the Union addresses and presidential campaign addresses, it's the same shit over and over and over and over again. It's just rhetoric. It's just empty rhetoric. It doesn't mean anything. And the fact that it seems to work, I mean, they trot these jingos out at these rallies and whatnot, and people just go apeshit. And it's just silly. And I just get tired of it. And of course, in our time, it's even more ironic because there's not going to be any unifiers. World War II unified Americans, 9/11 sort of unified Americans, and other than that, they're pretty much at each other's throat. And I don't think this is anything new, although we have some variations in our own time. Of course, it got to its most heated in the 1860s when we actually had a civil war. Americans certainly hated each other then, and I'm sure presidential candidates after the Civil War talked about being unifiers and being presidents for all Americans. But in this age, the idea of being a unifier is even more pathetic and ridiculous because they're the ones that created the division. They thrive on this division. They fanned this division. Like I mentioned before, they have created a politics of hate, and it's here to stay, and it's going to get worse than ever. And this election will not solve that problem at all. Kamala Harris is not going to bring this country together. Biden didn't bring this country together, and sadly, Trump will not bring this country together either. They have created a monster, and they can't control it. And frankly, they don't want to control it. They like things this way. They like things with Americans at each other's throats. And of course, I think Trump's rhetoric is just a symptom of these times. As I mentioned before, I think the heated rhetoric of the last 8 years and going back even into the Obama years and before, we've seen this just getting ramped up more and more and more. And of course, the moment Hillary Clinton called half the country deplorables was an apex moment. And then now recently, of course, we have Mark Cuban out saying that the women around Trump are weak and dumb. And then, of course, the all-time classic, Biden calling half the country garbage. And so the the idea of having political differences is evolved into cults, has involved in sets of religious zealots who hate each other, and they go at each other in person in incidents all over the country, and they go after each other online. I know from my own experience that uh, I don't like Republicans or Democrats, but that still wasn't enough for a lot of my liberal friends. I was either with them or against them, and the fact that I didn't support the Democrats doesn't matter that I didn't support the Republicans either. But the fact that I didn't support their cause lost me about 100 friends on Facebook several years ago, and I'm also struck by the hate and the language. The media and the politicians have done their work well because they spew nothing but hate and anger and profanity at the other side. And the other thing is too, of course, everybody's idea of unity is you join our side. That's the worst part about it. I've seen that nonstop. The best thing you can do for this country and show unity is to join our side. And so you're not allowed any differences of opinions now. And after this election, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more Facebook friends axing each other. And you know, I've lost friends that I've had for 40 years. We never talked about politics. All of a sudden, this political era that we're in now, it's become this all or nothing proposition, and all the blame goes to the politicians. They talk about being unifier. Look at Biden; he talked about being unifier, and then he does nothing but say things to divide the country. And Kamala Harris is doing the same thing now, and and their faithful minions in media, they're the absolute worst. Um, you know, anybody that watches The View or Rachel Maddow or any of these other nuts out there in media, there's not going to be any reconciliation. There's not going to be any middle ground. There's not going to be any unity. Unity in this country is dead, and I think there's going to be a lot of civil unrest going forward, because no matter who wins the election, the other side is not going to be happy about it, and they're not going to accept it. And we've gotten to the point now where we have a lot of Americans who declare whoever gets elected is not even their president. So anyway, as far as jingo and jargon and political rhetoric goes, saying that you're going to be a unifier and that you are going to create some unity in this country is just pure, unadulterated bullshit. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too?